In 1971, there wasn't such a thing as a scientific breeder's license in the state of Texas. It was called a wildlife breeder's license. Didn't matter if you were raising white-tailed deer, raccoons, anything that was a native species, you had to have that license. It cost $5. I got my first one when I was 10 years old, and that's actually when I had my first white-tailed deer. Uh, on the first segment that I talked about on Grow Bigger Deer, I mentioned EHD and blue tongue and how devastating it was to me. Behind me here, along the fence line here, at the Chit Ranch, there's 16 whitetail skulls on this one fence line right here, and numerous ones in the barn. These represent a group of deer that I bought from a gentleman named Mr. Kinslow that lived right off of Interstate 40 in Oklahoma, and he had a restaurant there for numerous years called the Catfish Kitchen. He's since passed away, but his children still own and operate the restaurant right there, and it's probably the best catfish I ever eat in my life. Uh, you need to stop in there if you're going down 40. But we had problems with EHD and blue tongue with deer that come from north of 40. And this right here represents a $16,000 loss out of my pocket. So I learned the hard way. Justin Talley is an entomologist at OSU, the bug doctor. He came to the ranch that I own, and he tested like 10 ranches in the area within a 100-mile radius for midge gnats, chiliacoid gnats, the no-see-ums, that carry EHD and blue tongue. And I had the highest concentration of midge gnats, chiliacoids, and the highest concentration of infected midge gnats out of all the deer farms that were tested in the state of Oklahoma. So the people that we purchased the ranch from before that, bald-faced lied to me because I was concerned about EHD and blue tongue issues, and I asked them if they had any problems before that, and they said no, and that they'd only lost like 2 deer. And then I got to be acquainted with their veterinarian, which I'm going to keep confidential, which later became my veterinarian, and told me that the EHD and blue tongue problem there was horrible. And my good friend Bill Kibler and I, which were partners together in the whitetail business up there, he was in a different location about 15 miles away, and I ended up having to move my deer over to his farm because mine were so bad just right there in that one location, because I had a live creek running through the pen, and the midge gnats, the chiliacoid gnat, breeds in running water. But like I said, these deer came up there from northern Oklahoma, well, right in the central part of it, and I'm sorry I can't remember which town it exactly is where Mr. Kinslow's restaurant is, but this is a death loss off of one place. I bought 21 bucks. I lost 16. I got to hunt 5. I got to keep 5 and grow them and shoot them. And this is the problems we run into. And at Overall Wildlife Nutrition and the Alternative Ranch Yard, one of our shows that's on the Redneck Nation Network, we're going to talk to you about EHD and blue tongue, and we're going to talk to you about other problems in different alternative species, whether it be African hoofstock, sheep, wild goats, whatever, and let you know and share our knowledge with you so that you can be successful and learn from my mistakes, because apparently this was a $16,000 mistake. And when you're trying to make a living running a hunting ranch one gut pile at a time, it's tough enough. And I don't know if I said before or not, but I bought 3 big 200-inch deer from a boy up in northern Oklahoma by Miami. I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to discredit him. It didn't have anything to do. He's a superior deer breeder, excellent manager. Hell, I'll go ahead and say his name is Rusty Cornwell. He's an awesome whitetail guy. I mean, had a real good working relationship with him, just his deer didn't have the immunity, the resistance and immunity from natural genetic resistance to be able to withhold and withstand the abundance of midge gnats that I had at my place. His deer were perfectly healthy. They just didn't have the genetic resistance to be able to withstand what they were facing when they got to Belma, Oklahoma, to the Hat Top Ranch. And it was really tough to try to make a living there and deal with this, and that's why we want to share with y'all on the Alternative Rancher and through Overall Wildlife Nutrition, and help you to assist and learn from my mistakes over 35 years in this business, actually from 42, because I got my first whitetail license when I was 10 and started raising them. But you know, we back in the old days when Mark Riles and I and ZZ Monty Carnell were running together, we'd bring deer from up north because it was legal in Texas to do it, and all we had to do was do a TB and Bangs test. That was before the EHD, not the EHD, the CWD, big old deal, and where they shut the borders in Texas. But we would bring them in. We didn't have any knowledge of EHD and blue tongue, and we just thought it was a climate change that was killing these deer. And we didn't know that it was cheleocoid gnat, and the cattle and the sheep and goats in Texas have a natural resistance against it. And because there's blue tongue, like in Australia and stuff, it just wipes sheep out, and here too. And you know, Fort Dodge makes a vaccine, and I spent thousands of dollars on a vaccine in Oklahoma to try to develop one. And every time you try to you get to your point, the EHD or blue tongue virus would mutate to a different level, and the vaccine that you were using wasn't worth a crap. And that's why you have to build a deer herd that's resistant to EHD and blue tongue through resistance, and Texas genetics will do that. The pure Texas, South Texas Tejano genetics on whitetail deer will conquer that battle with EHD and blue tongue. But I just wanted to share that segment with you on Redneck Wildlife. This is Redneck Chit, and let you know a little bit about EHD and blue tongue and the devastation of it in captive bred whitetail and also in wild whitetail deer. Check it out. You can see a lot of it on the web about the problems that it's caused in deer, in whitetail deer, and not really bad in mule deer, but it does affect some other species too. But thank you for tuning in to Redneck Nation Network, and we'll be back to you soon.